Yes, welcome. This is Rebuilding Family Foundation coming all the way from Kenya, Nairobi. I'm happy for you even to join us today, even to get inspiration, information, so that in one way or the other, you can make your family and your life to live with the highest level of safety. I believe safety is key, and having information about safety for our family and our life is also extremely very important. Now, in our season 1 of Rebuilding Family Foundation, there are different speakers, different guests whom we had invited to come and join us, and they talked about different dynamics of life. And there are a lot in which we learned, and most of the viewers were suggesting, can you give us a recap before you go to your second season? We are on season 2, part B of our recap. What are some of the great things which we learned on our last episode, which can help us to learn, add wisdom, and add knowledge to ourselves? I am Collins Bolo, the founder of Rebuilding Family Foundation, which is a program within our main organization, Family Health, Life Skills, and Career Development. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation, so that every time we're going to have episodes, you'll be getting a signal. And not only that, you'll be able to enjoy our good lessons in one way or the other. Join us and let's enjoy our moment. Yes, thank you. Welcome back. Among men, most of the people came and actually gave us great and nice information about how we can keep our home safe. It's none other than Moses Bolo. Moses Bolo is one expert as far as safety is concerned. He has been involved with this program in our country, certified in UK. Also, he has done the same program for safety in the Middle East, specifically in Afghanistan. What are some of the information about safety in lifting techniques which we need to know? Let's go back and recap and listen to what Moses Bolo gave us as part of the tips on these issues of life.
So today, basically what I want to share with all of us are proper lifting techniques. Back pain, it's always it's preventable. It occurs, yes, but it's preventable. They are like, according to United States Occupational Health and Safety, in workplaces, they say over 1 million workers suffer back injuries annually. So, and that's 90% of workers. This means that this can happen even at workplaces. Our backs have 300 muscles, and again, we have at the pelvic area, we have got 5 pieces, and we have 24 vertebrae. These are flexible joints, which has liquid, fluid-like liquid, which help us, and they act like shock absorbers. So it's very, very important for us to know and to understand what can cause back injuries. And the primary cause of back injury is lifting, pushing, lowering, handling objects. And another one is, of course, you can slip, trip, and fall. Probably the floor is very wet in the house, which can make you slip, trip, or maybe there are cables everywhere hanging around. We call them daisy chains. Make you slip, trip, and fall. Again, if you have, of course, a motor vehicle accident, or you are struck by something which can cause a back injuries. You have, again, physical condition probably you're overweight, which can put pressure on your back. Again, this can cause back pain and back injuries. Another one is age. Of course, if you are aging, this can cause back pain at some point. Now, in most of our houses, we have objects, we have things you want to lift, you want to push. So it's very advisable when you're doing that, you should maintain a good posture. Posture is the key. So avoid lowering object very fast, make you lowering very slow. Avoid lifting objects away from your safety zone. Safety zone basically is closer to you. Lift object when everything is closer to you. Avoid lifting things away from your center of gravity. You can lift something which is very light. Let's say something which weighs 5 kgs. But if you lift it properly, it can put at least 40 to 50 kgs on your back if you lift it properly. So lifting is the key. You want to fix the light fixture. You want to fix your bulb. You are lifting yourself up and trying to change a light bulb. Again, if you lift it, if you go up there improperly, in proper posture, again, there's a possibility you might hurt yourself. Now, cumulative, you can have like upper limb disorders, those who are using computers in the house. If you sit improperly, you can have, if your display and your chair does not hold your back very well, there's a possibility that you'll bend as you use your computer, or if your arms are not well placed at the keyboard, you may find that either your keyboard is very low or is very high, and you may have what is called wrist tendonitis, which again, this is painful and it may hurt you so bad. So the most important thing is lifting. When you're lifting that bag from shopping, you came from shopping, you are lifting a bag from your vehicle, or you're lifting a bag from the trolley, or you're lifting the shopping bag, taking it in the storeroom. If you lift him properly, there's a high chance you may hurt yourself. How do you lift? First, use your legs, because the lower part of our bodies, they have more muscles than the upper part of our bodies. And these muscles, they are interconnected. So if you are lifting, make sure that you bend your knees when you go down and lift with your legs. Lift closer to you. Make sure you tighten your stomach muscles. Your stomach muscles is the core. It holds your back. So make sure that you do that. You hold your stomach muscles and do some stretching exercises to loosen up. This is very important. You can do partial sit-ups. You can stretch yourself, at least exercise daily or every other day. It's very important. When you do the exercise, it makes yourself loosen up. So when you're lifting, it can help you prevent your back injury. People have back injuries, many people at workplaces, even in the home areas. You talk to your parents, your relatives, a good number, they have back injuries. They feel painful when they wake up. They feel back pain when they're doing different chores. It's because of lifting. 90% is because we're lifting something which might not be actually heavy. Some might be heavy, but under poor and proper posture. Also, repetitive lifting can again, and twisting can cause back injuries. So this is very important to us to understand and to know the proper way we can lift objects, lowering object, and again, if you are moving it from one place to other, you can either use a trolley or some other equipment. It's very, very important. That will protect your back. Yeah, yes. That's what I have to share with you today.
Thank you, Moses. That's very key, very important. Lifting techniques. I remember some years back, we were in our home and my wife was cooking. Believe me or not, an empty sophoria as she was lifting it, and just to place it on top of the cooking pan, her back just, boom, got messed up, and she could not raise up. She just stuck where she was very painful. By God's grace, because of the techniques which I know and had learned before, I managed to use my fist, put it right at the back, and press so that she can be back straight. But you know something? At that night, we could not drive to the hospital. I had to slant her down to bed, sleep until morning, then wake her up straight, wash her the whole body. Then after that, I slowly took her down the stairs, pressed her back again so that it can open up and she could sit on the vehicle, and I took her to the hospital. It really costed a lot for them to do the massage in the hospital, which also was not working very well until I had to take an option for thermal massage, which actually gave her easiness on her back. How you lift something and you place something down, it's a technique we need to know so that it can avoid back injuries. Now, apart from back injuries, which sometimes things can happen in your home, even during the time for our meals, when you take our meals, there's some other dangers which can occur, like choking. These things happen most of the time to children. There are some of us who survived death when you were young because when your parents probably were giving you porridge, they had to put it by force on your mouth and squeeze it, and you are being beaten and caned while you're taking the porridge. The people survived it. But why is it important for you to understand this aspect of choking so that none in your home become traumatized in the time of enjoying meals? Let's listen on what you need to do when in case choking takes place in your home by one of our coach, a nurse, and also a mentor to many nurses, Mary Selesa Bolo.
So when choking, what do you need to do? Number one, we have got different stages, or rather signs and symptoms that you know somebody is choking. If somebody is choking and they're coughing, just know they're safe. So long as they're coughing, if they were choking, they were just eating food together or they swallowed something, but they're coughing, that's a very safe zone. You shouldn't be so worried. You should just stay there, be with that person and assist wherever you can, depending on what they tell you. But there's another stage whereby the person cannot cough. They're holding, there's a universal choking sign. They hold their necks like this. And at that time, some will make a very shrill sound. Some will not hear anything. They'll just hold their necks. If you are there, ask them, are you choking? Because there have been cases whereby somebody was just holding their neck and rubbing it, and they're quiet. So it could be they're just quiet, there's nothing, but ask them. If you see somebody holding their neck like this, ask them, are you choking? If they nod and say they're choking, you need to take action as soon as possible. Now we have scientifically proven maneuvers that help. Now on simple layman's language, one of the maneuvers that we use, you go behind the person's back and take your hand around them. Make a fist between the belly button and where the diaphragm and where the symphysis, for a better English word, where the ribs end. There is a point at where the ribs end and the belly button. Put your hand and make a thrush, upward thrush. You're exerting pressure on the diaphragm so that anything that is in the airway can be pushed and can come out. So that is one of the ways. We call it helmet maneuver. For a small child, you cannot do helmet maneuver. You need to go behind the back and pat, do thrusts using this part of your finger. Very hard thrust. Do like that. Do it 5 times. And if it is something that will easily come up, because it also depends on what they're choking on. I had earlier said that if foods are made in large chunks and you give to a child, or even others, very large pieces of meat, if it's an object that is occluding or blocking the airway, and you give a thrust behind the back, it can easily come out. But there are times whereby, one, they're not coughing, they're not responding, they're putting their hand on the neck and they've told you they're choking. You have tried doing the thrust, nothing is happening, they're just looking at you. You've tried hitting their backs to see where it comes out, nothing is happening, at that point, just know things are not doing very well. Some patients become even more unresponsive and they become frail and weak. Put them on the floor and now you start chest compressions. Meanwhile, when somebody is in that state, you don't need to handle that person alone. You need to shout for help. Come on, somebody help. Call the Jiranis, the neighborhood. If you're in the street, say somebody help. People can easily come in and call the ambulance. And at that point, that is where I say that it is important that you have at least one number for an ambulance. A medic who is around the neighborhood. That is why we always say, wherever the neighborhood you are in, you need to know people who are around there. Who are the medics there? Who are the people who can help in safety issues and all? And somebody who is well trained. So basic life support can assist at that time. They can do chest compressions as you wait for an ambulance to take that person. So we have had cases whereby simple thrust does not work, the patient is unconscious, unresponsive, and they have to be brought to the hospital, whereby it has to be removed, whatever it is that was choking the patient. Common things that choke us apart from meat, we have also fish bones. We have people talking and eating at the same time. Fish is very dangerous. It can easily cause choke, and with that one you cannot, even if you do thrust, sometimes the spikes have already held part of your mucosa or they've held part of the throat. So whatever you do, it will not come out. So it will just be stuck there. So always observe whoever has told you they're choking, but so long as they are coughing, they are safe. And I always say this, feeding time should be a very sacred time. Eating time, it should be sacred. Why? It should be a time where you chew food slowly. Most people are in a hurry to eat very fast. You don't chew food that's supposed to be chewed so that it can be digested. And as you eat in a hurry, then choking becomes very apparent. You're more probable, likely to choke faster if you're eating food in a hurry, if you're eating and you're talking. So be safe. Always chew food slowly. Eat food that has been cooked properly. Cut food into smaller slices, even meat. If somebody is choking, go behind them if they are an adult, or if they are of an age where you can go behind them. Do a thrust on the abdomen between the belly button and the end of the ribs. If it's not working, they are still not responding, you have been trying, that is a person you should not handle yourself alone. Call for help. And I think Kenyans are very good in responding. Just shout somebody help. Have a phone number of an ambulance, have neighbors whom we know who can assist, then the patient should be rushed to the nearest hospital. Because again, when airway is compromised, you get respiratory distress, and at that time, there has to be a surgical intervention.
Yeah, it can happen. A child can choke, a mature person can choke. But basic principle, simple. Why hurry to eat if you have to hurry to look for the same money and make food? Take time, enjoy your food, and avoid such kind of issues. Apart from that, if you have a nanny in your house, a house help who attends to your child, even your wife, educate yourselves at home on how to take the best measures to avoid unnecessary predicament at the best moment of taking our meals. Kindly subscribe to our channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation. Like us. If you have a question, you can post it, and we'll see how we can share and we can give you feedback at the same time. This is very key and very important. For those who have been following us in all our programs in the course of the week, every Tuesday we have a program which is called My Health, My Wealth, which Celeste Abolo brings health factors each and every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9. Make sure you don't miss it on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have Moment with Christ, whereby you have different kind of ministers who discuss different kind of issues of life pertaining to our Christian faith and Christian walk. Every Thursday, from this second episode, we have Business Forum. In Business Forum, we'll be inviting different group of people who have made it very well and successfully in the area of career and profession and business, so that at a time like now, we can help Kenyans and other people watching us from different quarters of the world on different concepts you can use for personal success in business and home-based business for your own self and for your family. Every Friday, we have Rebuilding Family Foundation, where we talk about different dynamics of family, marriage, and a domestic life. Make sure that don't miss it. We put it on prime time from 9 to 10, so that when we come and we talk on very sensitive issues, at that time your children should be sleeping and you should be enjoying all these good information and stuff. And on Sunday night, we are going to start a new episode under Moment with Christ, whereby it will be Swahili program, so that men and women who love Swahili can enjoy our program in Swahili. So in our season 2, we have made sure that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday evening, something good is coming to you, so that don't waste your time watching bad news in the name of good news, but you can get right information which can bring a change, a difference, and progress in your life. Yesterday, in our Moment for Christ program, we had people who came and spoke to us in Heaven Real, and they shared about different kind of things. And also, we presented other people's experience on the same matter. Let me give you just a glimpse of some other people's experience on the issue of heaven, as in our next episode about the same issue on 21st, we shall address if hell is real. That is in the program of Moment with Christ. Let me give you a sample of one incident which can motivate you to wait and listen to their other aspect of life.
They called a code and they come running in. I was above my body. I could see them doing chest compressions. I could see them, all the nurses around. I could smell the most beautiful flowers I've ever smelled. And then I heard music. When I opened my eyes, I knew where I was. I knew I was in heaven.
In 2019, Charlotte Holmes was having a routine checkup with her cardiologist when her blood pressure spiked to 234/134.
My heart doctor said, "You're not going home. We're going to put you in the hospital. We've got to get that blood pressure down. It's got to come down. You're having another stroke, or you're going to have a heart attack." They put me in a room and started an IV just to, try to get that blood pressure down.
Charlotte's husband, Danny, stayed with her while the hospital staff tended to her.
Immediately, they called this code, and everybody started rushing in. They just started working on her. And my feelings was, I thought, boy, I'm wondering if I'm even going to be able to bring her home.
Charlotte began describing things to Danny.
She started talking about the flowers. Well, I looked around and I knew there was no flowers in that room. That's when I knew she was not in this world when that was going on.
Charlotte's heart stopped. For the next 11 minutes, she was clinically dead.
I was above my body. I could see Danny standing in the corner. He had backed up. I could see them, all the nurses around. Then I opened my eyes. I looked around at the beauty. I could see the trees. I could see the grass. And everything was swaying with the music, because everything in heaven worships God. I can't convey to you what heaven looked like, because it's so above what we can even imagine, 1,000,000 times.
Charlotte says she was led into heaven by angels.
There's no fear. It's like pure joy. When the angels takes over, there's no fear. When you're going home, it's pure joy.
She says she then began to recognize deceased family members.
I seen my mom. I seen my dad. I seen my sister. I seen family members standing behind. I seen saints of old. See, they didn't look old. They didn't look sick. None of them wore glasses. They looked like they were in their 30s. But yet it says in the scriptures, we will be known as we were known. I knew them there in their new bodies. They looked wonderful.
What Charlotte saw after that, however, shocked her.
Standing behind my mom and dad was a light so bright. I couldn't look upon it. I mean, it was so bright. But I knew it was my Heavenly Father. Seen a toddler. And that toddler, I couldn't understand. And I can remember thinking, who is this? And I heard my Father say to me, my Heavenly Father say to me, it's your child. I lost that child. I was 5.5 months pregnant. I can remember them holding the baby up and saying, "Charlotte, it's a boy." Then he was gone. So when I seen this toddler, I said, "God, how is that possible?" He says, "They continue to grow in heaven, but there's no time. It's eternity." So 48 years, and here my child, our child, is a toddler.
Then God chose to show her one more thing.
God took me to the edge of hell, and I looked down, and the smell, and then rotten flesh. That's what it smelled like, and screams. After seeing the beauty of heaven, the contrast to seeing hell is almost unbearable. And he says, "I show you this to tell you, if some of them do not change their ways, this is where they shall reside." I heard my father say, "You have time to go back and share."
As quickly as she had gone to heaven, Charlotte's spirit came back.
I felt myself being drawn into my body. I felt the pain where I hadn't felt pain. I felt the sorrow. Danny said that they come running in and your eye blinked. And he said, "I knew then I was going to get to bring you home."
Charlotte made a full recovery and was released from the hospital after 2 weeks. She has been sharing her story since then, in public appearances and with everyone she comes in contact with.
People need hope. They want to know that there really is something out there. They want to know that everything's okay. I have been privileged to bring people to Christ, as he asked me to do. All the authority that he had, he has given to us in the name of Jesus Christ. Not because of who we are. God promises us. He said, "If it were not so, I would have told you." But he's gone to prepare us a place. Heaven is more than you can imagine. I can look you square in the eye and tell you for sure, heaven is real.
Yes, heaven is real. If you missed yesterday's episode, go to our YouTube page or our Facebook page, or my Facebook page, Collins Bolo. You can go to the YouTube page of CTCC Kenya, and you're going to find this heaven real. We had great speakers who really inspired us, as you're going to meet people who had an experience of death, or what we call near-death experience, and their testimonials. However, we have people who unfortunately die and they go for good, never coming back. When we lose our loved ones, our friends, our workmates, our neighbors, people we cherish so much, there's one emotion called grief, which once it hits us and you don't know how to deal with it, it can really bring an issue in your life. In the last episode, we also shared about it. Just get a tip, and if you want to get more, go back to our Rebuilding Family Foundation YouTube channel, and you shall get the whole training on how we can deal with grief and what are some of misconceptions when it comes to grief. What did we learn then? Have you ever found yourself in a scenario, in a situation where you feel there's something wrong somewhere, but you cannot just pick it? You can feel that there's something wrong with you, or there's something happening within your system which is not well, but you cannot actually define it. This kind of feelings, most of the time, we experience as human beings. And there are times we might be lucky to be able to pick what's bothering us, but there are times whereby we might be unfortunate and not be able to pick what exactly is bothering us. Now, why am I saying this? No, just as sometimes it becomes a challenge to pick some of the things that might be bothering us, among all different kinds of emotions which we experience in our day-to-day life, there's one part of emotion which most of the time is neglected, not addressed, but it can be extremely dangerous if we don't know how to manage that part of our emotion. And this emotion, we call it grief. Grief. We call it grief. Now, why is it important for you today to understand this part of emotion so that you can be able to address it? Now, when we talk about grief, what is grief and why is it important for us to understand? Grief is the normal and natural reaction to significant emotional loss of any kind. Now, grief is the normal and natural reaction to significant emotional loss of any kind. We have different type of losses, different kind of losses which we undergo in life, which I'll be talking about them based on research which was done for more than 15 years. But this feeling called grief, it's normal. Apart from that, it's very natural, but it is based on a reaction to significant emotional loss of any kind, meaning that once we get a significant emotional loss of any kind, then this kind of feeling comes, which is very natural and even very much normal. So meaning that having the feeling of grief, it's not an abnormal feeling, but normal and natural feeling when a significant emotional loss of any kind takes place on a person. And let me tell you something, as you're going to discover today, every day there are different types of losses we incur. And this natural and normal feeling we experience. But there's some extent once it gets to, it now turns from just being normal and it becomes destructive. And that's why you need to get this awareness today. Again, we say grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. I repeat again, grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. Now, day-to-day life, you have different familiar pattern of behavior as we wake up, as we get to work, as we get to interact with different people at different time. But once there's a sudden end of familiar pattern of behavior, there's a feeling which comes to us most of the time, and sometimes it can be a very conflicting feeling. For example, someone you love very much, then leaves to another country, another city, to another job, or this person dies. And there's that sudden end of that familiar pattern of behavior of you meeting with this person, interacting with this person, all these gadgets. You have your phone, you are in a matatu, calling someone, then someone snatched it away from you. The moment it's gone and you have realized it's gone and you cannot get it back, there's this feeling which comes because that's the end of the use of your phone in the hands of a thief, and the common pattern of you chatting and calling has been shattered at that time. That feeling, I call it grief. Again, I can define it this way. Grief is the feeling of reaching out for someone who has always been there for you, only to find when you need them, again, they are no longer there. It's a feeling of trying to reach out to someone who has always been there. Maybe your dad, your mom, your daughter, your son. Every day you interact, your big brother, your big sister, your co-worker, your colleague who has always been there for you. Have been meeting, talking, chatting, quarreling. But a time comes whereby when you want to reach out to this particular individual, you suddenly find out that you can no longer reach out to that person. That feeling which comes at that particular point is grief. But remember one thing, grief is normal and grief is natural. It's not a pathological condition or a personality disorder. I repeat, it's not a pathological condition or a personality disorder. And this is very key because I've found out that there are many people, once they get to grief because of loss of a loved one, and they start experiencing the feeling of grief, they are being put under a lot of medication. in ignorance. Remember, it is normal and natural at the same time. Yeah, normal and natural. The only problem is that once you get to grief and don't have skills and techniques on how to deal with this feeling, it will start affecting your emotions. Then it will start affecting your psychological part of you. Then it becomes pathological, and sometimes it can lead to death. As much as we lose so much in our lives, we need also to have skills and techniques on how to deal with this minor emotion, which is cumulative and cumulatively dangerous. If you want to know more about it, back to our YouTube channel, Rebuilding Family Foundation. Subscribe, like, send your opinion. If you are getting something good today, just send something, send a message. Let me hear what you're saying. Have you ever undergone grief? Have you ever lost something, someone, or even a pet, and it really affected you? Even sometimes status. How did it make you to feel? And do you think you have dealt with it well? Rebuilding Family Foundation exists so that in one way or the other, through some of our programs and some of the trainings which we'll be bringing, you can be able to learn competently on how you can be able to deal with this situation. And this is very key and extremely, very, very, very important. Now, for us to continue making our home safe, good, and excellent, apart from understanding grief and how to deal with grief, dealing with choking and weightlifting techniques, also we learned that social media can be very positive and also can be extremely dangerous. And it becomes extremely important for you, for me, for our children to understand how they can use social media for good and how it can be avoided for any kind of danger. So what do you need to know? What information do you need to understand? In our recap today, let's listen to another safety expert who also is very good in social media as he shares with us another tip on what you ought to know as far as social media is concerned. The one who gave us this presentation is Brian Bolo, and we learned a lot from him. Listen to what he says about the role of social media in our society today.
There are pros and cons of social media. So we are able to communicate this way and to edify each other, challenge each other, build each other, bond because of social media. We know a few years ago, this was not possible. But at the same time, we know that there are threats to our personal lives, threats to our families, threat to the community. So social media creates a community, but at the same time introduces not really new threats. The same threats used to be there, most of them used to be there without social media, but social media kind of escalated these threats or introduced new dimensions of the same kind of threats, plus new ones, actually, new threats as well. And maybe I'm going to mention a few of the threats that have been introduced by the social media. And one of them we know, just like Reverend, you just talked about a wife finding, a lady who found some communication, some improper communication or like kind of a relationship going on, cheating and things like that. So social media actually makes cheating becomes easier than it used to be before. It used to take a lot to connect with people before, but right now it's easier, it's faster, and it can be done secretively. But at the same time, of course, there are risks of being caught and messing up a relationship that you've been building for ages. So that's already one of the challenges that social media has brought, as much as it's an advantage as we're able to communicate. And I think there's this issue of cyberbullying, which has been rampant. And it's not only about kids. I remember one of our friends the other day, I think it's Mr. Dan Mugera. he was talking about an experience of cyberbullying which he experienced online. This is something that can happen to anyone, not just kids. And now that we have our children have access to these gadgets, meaning that they can access the social media platforms from home and from the bedroom secretly, without many times, in fact, without the supervision of the parents. That means that they can be bullied online and get to a place of depression, some even to suicidal thoughts and things like that. So that is quite a big threat and a big problem in today's society. Another negative impact of social media is unhealthy comparison between people, between families, and between individuals. And this does not apply only to children again. This applies even to grown-ups. There are men, there are women who are busy comparing their lives with the lives of other people based on what they see online, of which some of this online life or online show people post or show, they are not really their actual lives. A lot of people, whatever they post on social media or whatever is happening on ground in reality is totally different. But some people take everything that they see on social media to be the real truth, and they get depressed. They get frustrated because they think that other people are doing well, but they are not doing well. Yeah. Another thing is the issue of privacy. Privacy, I remember years ago when we were growing, when we were younger, I know some people in my neighborhood, I didn't even know their houses. I didn't know anything about their house, People can post their bedrooms online. People can post a lot of their private lives online. And one of the mistakes people do, married people in relationships, some people, when they go through conflict, family conflict, they post their conflict online, either directly or indirectly. The kind of post someone can put, and this must be something going on in this relationship, So, and then something that was meant to be within the two of you, and you can solve it without the input of other people, now becomes a public affair, which is not a good thing. And our kids, as I said earlier, our kids get exposed to offensive images and messages, and sometimes these messages are not really messages that like on Facebook, they are meant for other people. Some of these messages, they either intentionally or accidentally ended up on our phones through WhatsApp groups. At one time, I remember in one of the groups I was in, someone posted something, and I was using WhatsApp, and I had not set the setting such that images should not be downloaded. And so someone in the group happened to have posted some pornographic images. So later on, at my free time, I was actually going through, not even the WhatsApp, I was going through the images in the memory storage. And in the middle of that, I was dining or something like that, in the middle, relaxed and looking for something, then something popped up like, where did this even come from? So I had to check through the groups, and I found where it was coming from. Of course, the person apologized and all that. But I was imagining, what if my kids were going through my phone and this is what popped up? This is what they came across. Of course, I changed
even
the
your
settings
wife.
at that time.
Yeah.
Or even my wife, yeah.
Yeah, because it was
or even anyone else. Maybe I want to show someone some images of something at work or something like that, and the cause of that, such images pop up. Yeah, it can be quite embarrassing. So yeah, that's one of the the cons. And then there's this stalking and harassment, and especially someone can see a kid or even an adult online, and then he gets to like the person or hate the person, whatever the case may be, and starts stalking the person even in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And some cases have gone to a point of even kidnap. So all these things affect the family, whereas before you knew your kid is safe when he is in the house, but right now it's different. Someone can be stalking a family member inside their house, from school. And when our kids use their real names, they post their images and all that, they can meet a stranger who can call your child using his or her real names. You know, in some cases, a child gets kidnapped, someone gets raped and dragged or something like that due to that. And there's the issue of video games. There's some video games which are quite dangerous. And remember, there was this game which came out which was leading to the player or some of the people playing committing suicide at the end of the game or somewhere in the game. You know, so that is also comes through social media also because they are linked. And yeah, so those are some of the threats. They're not all the threats. There's also threats to our finances actually through scammers. There's a lot of scamming online nowadays. Yeah, a lot of scamming, and some of them come like very genuine. Some of them happen through genuine people. Actually, a few minutes ago, one of our cousins just posted, by the way, that his Facebook account has been hijacked, and the person who hijacked it is asking for money from people. Those are some of the threats. There is more, but that's what I'm going to talk around.
Thank you very much. Social media is good. It's making people to earn, people connecting, but at the same time, it can be a disaster in your home. Some of these tips you are not aware about.
Oh, yes. This is real. Social media is real. And unfortunately, today you'll find some parents, some couples, one is so stressed because he doesn't have full access to social media, while others are breaking because of social media and they want to disconnect out of it. Do you know the reason and why you have to use the technique and the knowledge and the platform in which you are in? Are you seeking for your identity through social media? Or do you know who you are and your identity is clear? Are your real friends, real people around you, or hypothetical friends within social media? We need to protect ourselves and use it for our gain. It all determines the information you have about social media. So how can we protect ourselves and gain and have real friends, real relationship, real success through social media? There are people who are making millions and billions of dollars by the same platform, while others are spending a lot of money daily with the use of social media. But as far as our domestic life is concerned, how can we be protected from the negative effect and impact of social media? Back to Studio Brian and tell us more.
Some of the things that you can do to protect yourself and to protect your family, to protect the kids and also the adults, because we know that we adults also have been victims sometimes. And one of the things that you should not do, and you should make sure you tell your kids not to do, is to avoid publishing personal information online. That is due to things like identity theft, and by your identity, your personal information can be used to steal money from your bank account. And in the case of like Kenya, if someone can have access to something like your ID number and one or two other informations, and maybe eventually even your ID copy, someone might be able to steal money from your mobile banking application. Therefore, as much as that is a personal thing, it definitely impacts the family, because we know that the family is made of individuals coming individuals together. Therefore, personal information, including images, be very careful with images. I know we post on Facebook and things like that, that's okay. But for the kids especially, when they start meeting strangers online, and then we should tell them, we should prepare them for this, that they should not share anything that they are not able or they won't find it right to share on their page, or the parents would be comfortable. Not comfortable to show the parents, to have the parents see anything like that. They should not share with any individual, because even if they trust those individuals, because kids get persuaded to send nude photos and things like that, to do funny things alone. Sometimes they're told they're going to be paid. Sometimes they get bullied to do that. So we should prepare them on how to behave when such things happen. Most of the time, one of the things that they can do is that they should involve you when they communicate with people. There should not be a secret between the kid and some stranger that she met online. Therefore, you should befriend your kids, and to a point that they will be willing to let you know who they're in contact with online. Yes, they should trust you more than they can trust anyone else online. And of course, they should know the do's and don'ts. Discussion about things like sexual matters with strangers online. They should know beforehand that is something that they should not do. They should know how to respond when it comes to that. And it's very important that our children should have a positive or good self-image. They should be confident about themselves, in that to a point that a stranger cannot bully them, harass them about their image or about anything else, to demean them to a point that they can now manipulate them. So there are mindset issues here involved, and we should build a strong mindset on our kids. So encourage them to talk to you, let them not share personal information, including things like location. Yes, they don't have to keep telling everyone online where they are at any given time. They've gone to this place, they're staying late somewhere, and they keep posting, showing their location, because stalkers are able to track them, and in some cases they are able to physically identify them, get them. In some cases, people have been raped, people have been kidnapped, and things like that. Another thing, so one of the things we talked about is the online scam. Therefore, when someone just contacts you, sometimes someone that contacts you and is asking for money, or she's asking for money, and the story looks convincing, this person is in problem. Most of the time, your gut will tell you, because if it's someone you've interacted with, this person does not communicate like that. I remember even around, I think last year, one of the people that I knew all the way from high school many years ago, whom we've not talked for like 20 years or something. Yeah. And the last time I tried to say hi to the person, he did not reply. But sometime last year, he just sent me a message directly asking for money. And I knew, obviously, this can't be that person. I know the way the person behaves and things like that. Even if he needed money, he won't just communicate to me like that. I know from the way I know him. And it wasn't that person eventually. His account had been hijacked. Therefore, be very careful. If you suspect there's something wrong, probably there is something wrong. And look at how your kids behave. Like Celesta talked about, when you're eating, not talking and things like that, and also no rushing. And if you see the behavior of your kids has changed, because they won't be using the phone on the table while dining, but this time they have to rush because they have to quickly go online. You have to pull them from online. There's that unusual time the kid is spending online. Be very careful about that. Start watching the behavior. The kid starts secluding herself, and the behavior changes. Something might be wrong, and most of the time there will be some telltale signs that something is not right. When it comes to the issue of games, before you allow a child to be playing these games online, where they play live with other people somewhere else, make sure you learn research as much as you can, as much information as you can about those games. As I said earlier, there have been these games where these games lead to children or to the player doing some things that are not right. It could be the children or the person harming himself or herself or harming another person or doing some things that are inappropriate. Another thing that's important also, the setting the app. It's Facebook, it's YouTube. There are settings inside there. Child safe settings. That's also very important. And also there's a look at the history where the browsing history, for the browsers, search engines, and the applications that they're using, so that you may know what do the kids look at and stuff like that. So familiarize yourself with the games, know the history, know the settings, the website settings, child safe settings, as I said, and things like that. So basically, those are some of the things, not everything, but some of the things that you can do to protect your family, and also have some disciplines. Some things are not actually, they have very little or nothing to do with the website and all that. Have some mechanical practices, habits as a family, because as a family we want to stay together, we want to eat together, bond at that time as much as we are not supposed to be talking, but we want to be bonding silently, right? So you don't want that when you're enjoying your meal, everyone is busy online. That is not good for the family.
Yes, great, inspiring, educative, and informative. Did episode 1 or season 1 a blessing to you? Did it give you right information? Did it wise you up in any way? Kindly make sure you drop your opinion and give us a feedback on the same. We have just started season 2. Next Friday, we are going to have some guests who will be joining us. And from them, we are going to continue learning more and more about life. This is Rebuilding Family Foundation. We're just doing a recap of our season 1. Don't miss season 2. Make sure you're going to be in to learn more and more and more. I'd like to appreciate all the people who have been joining us and sending comments. And I'd like to encourage all the people who have been enjoying without giving us feedback and comment that as we are starting season 2, you will send as much feedback as possible. You can give us your opinion. You can tell us where to improve. You can give your points on the same subject matters we'll be talking about so that we can improve ourselves. We have just started from where we can, but we believe we are going far, but our success is so much determined by you. Kindly like and subscribe on our Rebuilding Family Foundation. God bless you. Good night. Enjoy your moment from any part of this world you might be joining us from. This is Collins Bolo, all the way from Kenya, and a partner in your success and life journey. God bless you very, very much. Let's connect again next time as we continue to learn from each other. Good night.